Hello, I'm Julian Crocker, the County Superintendent of Schools for San Luis Obispo County, and welcome to this edition of our County Schools Update. Today I want to talk about two issues that have come together to make one of the races at the November 4th general election very interesting. One is a court decision, and the other is who is running for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Well, the California State Superintendent of Public Instruction, or we say the State Superintendent, is one of 9 statewide offices that are on the ballot for the November 4th general election this year. Now, usually, most of the attention is on the governor's race, and sometimes there is a focus on the Attorney General or perhaps the Secretary of State, but rarely on the State Superintendent of Schools office. One reason is that this position is the only statewide office that is officially a nonpartisan office. And as we know, here in our county, Jack O'Connell, a local resident, served recently for 8 years, 2 terms in this office after representing us in the California State Legislature. And Jack used this position to advocate very effectively for high standards for students and equity for all children. Currently, the 2 candidates for the State Superintendent office are Tom Torlakson, the incumbent, and a challenger, Marshall Tuck, who has managed several charter schools in the Los Angeles area and is a very high-profile education advocate. A recent court decision from Los Angeles County dealing with the current laws governing teacher assignment, job security, and dismissal have focused a lot of attention on this race for state superintendent, since the 2 candidates have very opposite viewpoints. So what is this court decision? Well, it's known as the Vergara decision, and it's a Superior Court ruling from Los Angeles County, and the court ruled in June that 5 state laws dealing with how teachers are assigned to schools and the process for dismissing teachers were unconstitutional because these statutes tended to infringe on the students' fundamental rights to an equal education, since the impact of these laws, the court felt, is to have ineffective teachers in classrooms and, based on seniority, often resulted in inexperienced or less qualified teachers being assigned to some of our most needy students and some of our most difficult schools. Well, the media has characterized this court decision as one that is critical of what is commonly known as teacher tenure, or the protection of teachers from being dismissed for incompetency or unprofessional conduct. Actually, teachers in the California public schools do not have tenure as most people think of it, like at the college or perhaps the university level. But our teachers do have a series of due process requirements that some feel are too complex and require too much time to actually be useful or possible. Others would argue that the current due process laws only give teachers a rightful protection against being dismissed for personal or political reasons. In California, a newly hired teacher has a 2-year, what is called probationary period, when the requirements to not rehire these teachers are fairly minimal. After the 2 years, teachers are then granted permanent status, which brings with it a much higher standard and complexity, frankly, for dismissal. Other statutes require that dismissal for reasons other than performance, for example, layoffs for budget reasons or declining student enrollment, those kinds of layoffs be on a seniority basis, which the plaintiffs in this court decision argue do not take teacher effectiveness into consideration. So that's the court decision. And now what about the election? Well, what this decision has meant for the race for the state superintendent is that the plaintiffs are suing the state of California, and the current state superintendent, as representing the state, has chosen to appeal this court decision to the next judicial level. That would be the State Court of Appeals. Since this issue of teacher tenure usually provokes very strong feelings, increased attention is now focused on this race. Marshall Tuck, the challenger, has said he would not appeal, this particular decision, thus putting him on the side of students, according to him, while Tom Torlakson is being painted as protecting ineffective teachers and being unduly influenced by the California Teachers Association, a very large and influential union representing most of the teachers and some other employees in the state. Well, the latest polls now indicate that this race is very close, and most of the analysis is focusing on this court decision. So what about the future of the case? Well, regardless of who is elected, the case more than likely will end up in the California Supreme Court, and if that court does agree with the lower courts, then it will be up to the state legislature to address the issues by revising the existing state laws. So I think we have at least 2 years before we will have a resolution of this matter. But in the meantime, it certainly has increased the interest in a statewide office that usually does not generate a great amount of interest. So in summary, the hot button issue of teacher tenure has certainly brought some energy and controversy to the statewide race of state superintendent. Hopefully, this election process will also allow people to become more informed on this issue, and if the legislature does end up acting, that it will then balance the need for due process for teachers with the need to have effective teachers with all of our students. Thank you.